Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. To start things off, very good news. U.S. stock exchange operator known as NASDAQ is reportedly sticking with plans to launch Bitcoin futures contracts early next year. A Bloomberg reported on Tuesday, citing people familiar with the matter. They said that NASDAQ will likely still list its own Bitcoin futures contracts in Q1 of 2019, despite the weak crypto markets over the last year. It's currently working with regulatory issues with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC. They added, back in February, the CFTC strengthened its review process for cryptocurrencies futures products. Its new checklist pertaining to designated markets, contracts, and derivatives cleaning organizations was aimed to assist regulators as exchanges introduce new crypto products onto the market. The NASDAQ contracts are said to be based on Bitcoin's spot price on numerous exchanges and will be compiled by New York-based investment management firm Van Eck. NASDAQ was first revealed to be preparing to offer Bitcoin futures products in November of last year. This is good news simply because we've had a lot of, not disappointment, but we've had other corporations and entities talking about that they were going to launch stuff, and not even necessarily the New York Stock Exchange talking about the things are going to be launched, and then they are not actually launched, and it leads a bit to a slump in the market that just turned green. Since this news has come out a couple of hours ago, I think the market is doing a bit better, just knowing that this is actually going to happen. No full list of plans as to exactly what the NASDAQ is going to do. I think as of now, it's just going to be Bitcoin futures. I remember hearing before that they were potentially, I assume this was based on rumors as to what the other major exchanges were going to do, is that they were also going to launch their own cryptocurrency trading desk. But I think NASDAQ said specifically that they are looking into it for the future, which could mean anywhere from next year to somewhere around year and a half, what have you. It's still very good news. I'm very glad that this is actually still going to happen. And I think it's interesting that we get news now that they're going to be launching this early next year as well. So I can only assume that this is probably going to coincide at the exact same time with what the New York Stock Exchange is going to do, which is kind of interesting because I think it could be them trying to completely, not dominate the market, but have an avalanche of good news at the exact same time, so that normal people who may be standing on the sidelines could just all get in at the exact same time. Because when you have major names like the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange getting into Bitcoin, getting into cryptocurrencies, and launching Bitcoin futures at the exact same time, hopefully we're not very far away from these events. But yeah, let's move on. Next up, Singapore exchange SGX has clarified the rules for publicly listed companies planning to conduct ICOs. In a column published last Thursday, Tan Bu Gin, CEO of the stock exchange's regulatory subsidiary SGX Reg Co., stressed that any tokens launched in an ICO are not listed on the SGX and that these rules are applicable only for the companies themselves. As per the guidelines, any listed company planning to hold an ICO is required to consult with SGX Reg Co. in advance, as well as provide a legal opinion on the nature of tokens and an auditor's opinion on how the ICO should be treated for accounting, both from reputable firms. As they say, companies are also required to make certain disclosures, including the rationale behind the ICO, the risks involved, how the fund raised its funds, planned KYC or know your customer, and anti-money laundering checks, and any impact on existing shareholders' rights. They also need to ensure that ICOs are properly accounted for in their financial statements and that associated risks have been addressed. So it's pretty much they want you to do the exact same thing that you would normally do if you were running a security. If you were putting on a stock or something like that onto the stock exchange, you would have to go through these exact same things. This is a significant one because Singapore has a large amount of money that a lot of other cryptocurrency projects have been launching specifically in Singapore. The Singapore, Switzerland, I think very few in Monaco, a couple in Liechtenstein. The point is, we are finally seeing governments around the world finally giving us clarification, or I'm not really in Singapore, but giving people clarification as to what exactly how ICOs are going to be, how they can be listed, what you have to do in order to get them listed onto it. Many other countries still have not given us their information as to what exactly is going on, but I, for one, am glad that other countries are finally starting to step up a bit and declare what they think ICOs are or declare what they think cryptocurrencies are. We're still waiting on that news from India, if I'm not mistaken. It's supposed to be in December. Hopefully, we get some type of proper information from them as well. I could definitely see if we have this going on, this happening at the beginning of next year, the New York Stock Exchange thing. There was also some other, not that they're like a smaller company, but something else is launching at the beginning of next year as well. I can only assume that everyone else is then trying to ramp up as well to make sure that cryptocurrencies are also legal, or that people know exactly how they're going to be treated within their country, simply because I think what we could see, this is just wishful thinking, as like an avalanche of money coming into the market simply because of all the reputable places who are entering the cryptocurrency game. Next up, cryptocurrency hardware wallet manufacturer known as Ledger announced that it is expanding to New York as part of its development of institutional custody offerings for Ledger Vault, according to a press release shared with Cointelegraph on the 26th of November. Ledger, which launched pre-access for Ledger Vault in May, has appointed former Intercontinental Exchange, or ICE, which is also the same people who run the New York Stock Exchange, executive Dimitrios Kalkotos to lead the global business unit operations for the project. They said New York City is the center of the financial world, hence having our Ledger Vault operations based in the region was a natural fit, end quote. This was said by Ledger CEO Pascal Gauthier. As the trend for businesses to serve institutional investors continues, Ledger joins non-cryptocurrency operators, including ICE itself, in preparing the ground for what appears to be a growing demand from corporate clients. Despite a roughly 6-week delay, ICE's back platform will blah, blah, blah. We know that when that's going to launch. By contrast, Ledger Vault is a form of custody solution allowing multiple members of a corporate entity, such as a hedge firm, to access the same cold storage wallet. In July, Ledger announced that it had sold more than 1 million hard wallets in 2017, with good reason, because I like them, noting that they were planning on attracting tech giants like Samsung and Google's venture arm, GV, for further funding rounds. No actual... I'm going to assume if this is an institutional custody thing, this is probably not for what you would call normal people. I assume this is typically, they usually have like a $250,000 to like $500,000 buy-in thing. Who knows? Maybe someone out there listening to this right now will be able to have their money held with them as well. But I think it's really interesting. And I wonder, this is just me thinking out the side of my head. So many of these things are for like institutional custody things, but a lot of them, when you listen to like certain podcasts or just podcasts in general about cryptocurrencies, a lot of them, depending on who they have speaking that day, a lot of them talk about the future of like very rich families putting their money into cryptocurrency, or those who have already done so, and those who are looking for like heavy custody solutions because they plan on holding this money for 10 to 15 years inside of a vault. I don't know. It's all very, I guess, futuristic and kind of weird, because I guess I'm always interested in the exact numbers of things, like how much money are these people putting inside of these vaults. There was also something a couple of weeks ago that someone in Switzerland had created a vault that's like in a mountain, or something completely insane. Like when you get to situations like that, you're not dealing with normal money anymore. I doubt very few people out there are buying enough cryptocurrency that they would need to fly it over to Switzerland in a hard drive or something like that and put it into a vault that's built inside of a mountain. Kind of insane. But yeah, let's move on from this topic. Still very cool that they are doing this. Next up, the crypto market may be going through hell. I guess you can call it that, but it's no secret that much has been achieved this year. But where is it? According to the founder and CEO of Binance, Changpeng Zhao, these efforts will trickle down. That is all the things that have been happening with, he says, companies like Ripple and Tron. These will trickle down to bring good tidings in 2019. In his sole view, 2019 will be the year cryptos finally achieve true mass adoption. Zhao was speaking in an interview with The Street. Binance is one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, and that puts the exchange in the spotlight, especially in regard to the part it plays in the overall growth of the market ecosystem. Zhao said that the company is still working to make the exchange better and cover the full spectrum of the industry. He went on to intimate, is that a word? Intimate that Binance, initiate? He went on to say that Binance already has some tricks up its sleeves in that quest. The traditional market has been overtaken by the likes of crypto exchanges. In Zhao's opinion, the fact that exchanges have taken back the top spot markets makes the future brighter. My gosh. Adding that crypto exchanges are ready to set up the ecosystem for the future. Changpeng Zhao also shared his thoughts about the prevailing market situation of 2018, and he was all bullish. Interestingly, Zhao expressed his satisfaction with the market performance this year, saying that 2018 is basically a build year, a challenging period to prepare the markets for future growth. Someone wrote in the comment section, I don't know who you are. Obviously, I can't remember all the names. Someone wrote that they were upset yesterday that I said that I was happy that the markets went down. When I say things like that, we are investing in cryptocurrencies. I'm not happy that I lost money. I'm not happy that you lost money. I think, I said this before, I guess maybe it got lost in translation somewhere along the way. The market needed to go down whether you wanted it to or not. We needed to have a year where crypto projects were able to do things. The market got way too hot really fast. If we didn't have this year, first of all, prices going down, whether you may not see the long term of it or not, this is a good time for us to accumulate the coins that we wanted to do before. Somebody else wrote in the comment section a couple days ago, they wrote some random person saying, oh my gosh, I wish I had bought Bitcoin at 4,000, and it's like the price of Bitcoin goes down to 4,000 and like the person's still sitting there quiet. We needed this. This actually had to happen. Crypto would have completely collapsed. No, there was no exchange. There was nothing that was able to hold all the demand that we had last year. Imagine since then we've had a 10x of people who are interested in crypto, all these institutional investors. Imagine if they had tried to use the same exact framework that we had. Bitcoin had 200,000 transactions that were not being sent through the actual blockchain. Imagine if we had 2 million. Bitcoin would have completely crumbled, not literally, but no one would have wanted to use it. It would have had a very bad press image. So we needed the prices to go down. It's been a good time to accumulate if you are in the market for the long term, and also just to be able to build. Like I said before in the summer, 2018 is just an in-between year, and it's something that we actually needed to give the market a bit of a breather. To expound on that, Zhao confessed that had the bear market not happened, like I just said, even large exchanges like Binance would have found it really hard to handle the resulted inflated trading volume driven by a bullish market. Speaking of the future, he said that significant institutional funds are likely to flow in from the United States, despite Europe enjoying a faster rate of crypto adoption. Like all business entities, Binance has a plan for the future. However, Zhao wasn't exactly willing to disclose anything yet. Although he did give away some clues, he said that the exchange focuses more on short-term goals, sometimes weekly goals, drawing a parallel from Google. Zhao envisioned a future where Binance turns into a verb. Maybe in the future when people want to do something on Binance, they'll say, just Binance that. I don't know if it's going to get that far. Binance is a great website. I don't know if I'll be telling anyone to Binance that anytime soon. But it's nice to hear that one of the main, if you've ever heard this guy speak, he is like, you can call him like a permabull. He is constantly on it. He knows what he wants, how he sees the future of cryptocurrencies. And he said many times before, he says that the way that they're building up Binance and the way that they're doing things and the way that they're working with regulators around the world, that they are planning on making Binance like the go-to place for the cryptocurrency market. Very nice to hear that a lot of people are very optimistic for 2019, and I felt this way for quite some time as well. I was a little 50-50 towards the beginning of the year when I thought the market was going to go back up, but I think all signs are pointing to this year being like the year of adoption, especially when we were talking about last video with the entire thing that backed is talking about their phase 2 or something like that. When we have a world where you can pay for everything in cryptocurrencies, we've made it. This is kind of I think where he got his crypto mass adoption idea from. Let's move on. Next up, SEC Commissioner, her name is Hester Peirce, or Piercy? No, I'm pretty sure it's Pierce. Recently appeared on the What Bitcoin Did podcast, confirming that a Bitcoin ETF was definitely possible. The most notably pro-Bitcoin SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce appeared on the What Bitcoin Did podcast on the weekend. Whilst unwilling to describe a future Bitcoin ETF as inevitable, she did confirm it was definitely possible. Peirce first won the hearts of the crypto community with her statement of dissent following yet another denied Winklevoss ETF application. In the statement made in July, wow, time flies, she publicly disagreed with the commission's views that Bitcoin was not ripe enough, respectable enough, or regulated enough to be worthy of our markets, end quote. She felt that the SEC had gone beyond its jurisdiction in assessing the underlying asset rather than the specific market that it would trade in. In the podcast, she reasserted that the SEC had a specific mandate to uphold the regulatory framework. She believes that the SEC should allow for innovation within the framework and not to become interventionist. She's spoken a couple of times, and a lot of other people, not many people in government, I think a lot of people are still afraid to put themselves out there to even talk openly about cryptocurrencies. And I mean, politicians sometimes should just put a foot forward and actually talk about what they believe in or what they kind of feel. Anyway, the point is, what the SEC's job is that to make sure that the market is, not that it's not corruptible, that people who are investing in said asset or said whatever have all the information that they need about the thing that they're trying to get into. It is not the SEC's job to pretty much say, no, this thing isn't old enough yet, and therefore we won't even let it touch our markets. And this is kind of where she came out and she was saying, that's completely wrong. This is not our job to do this. And this is why I think we also had a couple of weeks ago that the SEC was talking about that they were going to re-review the 9, or at least 9 of the other Bitcoin ETFs that they had formerly shot down. Only thing there's two scenarios I can see coming from that. Either they are going to completely look over them, as they say, and then not allow any of the 9 at all, or they could be setting it up so that should they potentially have some time next year, Q1 of next year, when everyone's thinking about that they're going to potentially have a Bitcoin ETF go through, that they could then start sliding in the other ones through slowly. The ones that they are re-reviewing. It would be nice to have a couple of them floating around, but kind of what it is. Pierce explains that the SEC has brought in specialists to advise in the area of cryptocurrency. She said they have led the agency, the SEC, to take a cautious approach. She believes that it is right to pursue those who use crypto in an attempt to scam people out of their money, but is pushing to allow more scope for innovation. I don't know how much leeway or weight she actually holds in the SEC. I know she's a member of the SEC, but I don't know if she can actually push things through. It's nice to have an ally on our side in any capacity, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, no matter what office they may be sitting in. It's very nice to hear, because imagine if we had a situation where everyone hated cryptocurrency. We already know a lot of people in the crypto, rather the traditional finance space. They already don't care for cryptocurrencies. They think that the entire thing is a farce. So it's nice to hear that we have some people who are on our side, who are at least fighting, who are maybe at least having conversations with other people inside of these offices or inside of these institutions, telling them, have a second look at this, to try and push things through. A lot of people still think that we will definitely, this is other people, this is not me, that we will have a Bitcoin ETF launched within the second month of next year. This is what I think Novogratz said, if I'm not mistaken. No one knows when it's going to happen. I want to say if. I think it's definitely going to happen at some point. If Bitcoin hits hyper mainstream and they don't allow a Bitcoin ETF, I think they'll be looked at as something that I can't say on, I almost said the radio. Alrighty, let's move on. To finish things off, Allianz chief economist or economic advisor, his name is Mohamed El-Erian, said on Tuesday that he believes that cryptocurrencies will become more widespread, but as part of a broader ecosystem. During his performance at CoinDesk's Consensus Invest Conference in New York, El-Erian said he thinks cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are commodities rather than currencies, reiterating a view he has expressed in the past. I'm going to try and touch on that in 1 second if I can remember to actually touch on it. He said there were two confusions made. People called it a currency or an asset class. What it is part of the commodity complex. He said, I think cryptocurrencies will exist and will become more and more widespread, but they will be part of an ecosystem. They will not be dominant as a lot of people in the early adopters believe they will be, end quote. Speaking to why cryptocurrencies have appeal, El-Erian drew on the late 2000s global financial crisis that paved the way for Bitcoin's creation, highlighting the loss of trust in the decade since. He said, yes, we have a big trust deficit. I don't think we'd be up here on stage today if there had not been a shock to the trust in the way the economy works. That's an understatement. During the session, moderated by the New York Times columnist Andrew Ross Sorkin, El-Erian also spoke about his views on the question of institutional investor interest in the industry, commenting that certainly there's a lot more interest on the institutional side. That focus led to a question about comments like those issued in the past by billionaire investor Warren Buffett, who said in May 2018 that Bitcoin is probably rat poison square. What was also really interesting, if you Google around a little bit for information, or rather like news about Warren Buffett over the last month, I can't say for certain if this is actually correct or real or whatever. People were talking about that they found information that Warren Buffett, maybe a subsidiary of his, but he's connected to it in some way, allegedly, that he has actually been buying cryptocurrencies on the side, even though he's been talking about the cryptocurrencies are fake, they're farce, they're rat poison. He also said something at the beginning of this year. He said the only people who were into cryptocurrencies were criminals and stuff like that. On the topic of around here, what I think is kind of the weirdest part about all of this is, and this is just how I feel about the cryptocurrency space, the point of when Bitcoin was created, it was created as a payment method. It was a payment method that was going to be used by people all around the world. As we have, and I don't really call them crypto assets, I'll say it if it's like in an article, as we have more cryptocurrencies floating around and more people start to invest in them, I wonder what other people, like the institutional investors, think that these things are going to be used for, i.e., what's the point of buying Litecoin or Bitcoin if you don't think that other people are going to use them? Like, the entire point of them is to be used, and you buy them in the belief that sometime in the future that they are going to be more widely used or more widely accepted or more widely adopted, or they're going to be integrated into so and so and so. But people keep referring to them as either commodities or like digital assets, and not the things that they're actually going to be used for. I hope that actually made sense, because that's exactly like really what I wanted to say. People aren't calling them specifically cryptocurrencies. They're making sure to call them like crypto assets or crypto commodities. But what's the asset in buying something that isn't going to be used by other people? I.e., you have to think in some way, if I'm going to be buying Ethereum, or if I'm more specifically just Bitcoin, if I'm going to be buying Bitcoin, what is the backing behind you buying that asset? People are buying Bitcoin, especially a large amount of people in the cryptocurrency space are buying it because they believe that at some point, especially with BACT and all the other things, blah, 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 that Bitcoin is going to be able to be used on a daily basis by potentially, what did that guy say a couple weeks ago? He said over 1 billion people will be into crypto. By potentially 1 billion people on this earth are going to be using it as what? Like, no one is going to be buying a chocolate bar with a commodity. They will be using Bitcoin as a currency to pay for something. Hope that kind of makes sense. I'm getting a little, what I think that it is that what's happening right now, that when the people talk about this on stage, I think they're trying to tread very lightly because they don't want to make it seem as if they are too pro cryptocurrencies, if that makes a lot of sense. A lot of the way that they talk about cryptocurrencies specifically is that like things like this, like, yeah, they'll be widespread, but they're not dominant. 4 years ago, there was nothing in the news with these people talking about cryptocurrencies that they were even going to be widespread. People thought that they were going to die. So the fact that we've gotten this far means that they're kind of warming up a little bit to being able to talk about them normally. But what's the use case of what you're buying, and like, what's the point of a digital asset that has no use, that isn't going to be used? I hope I'm making sense. I'm sure someone out there gets exactly what I'm saying. These people keep talking about cryptocurrencies as if they're just going to be something that you can buy, put in a vault, institutional investors, and just people using it for futures. But that's not the point of these. Like, they're going to be used super widespread. They're going to be dominant, and they're going to be currencies. And I wonder when the switch will flip, when these people finally start referring to cryptocurrencies as currencies. Yeah. Small apologies for all my is tacos a word? Like, I know there's like typos, but I don't know if there's tacos. For all my reading mistakes. It's just how life is. It's cold outside. Just got back in. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. The future is looking extremely bright for the cryptocurrency space. For those who are here for the long term, I do applaud you for having even stuck around for this long. I think we have a very interesting quarter one coming up. For those who don't know, quarter one is like the first 3 months of 2019. The way that it's looking like it could shape up to be something very, very nice. But once again, try not to hold your breath as a just in case. But I am looking forward to it. Thank you once again for watching and or listening. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.